Flash Boys.
Well, I'll just tell you about my city of Syracuse. We've closed senior centers. We've closed fire stations. They're closing schools. We've lost a quarter of our teaching staff. We had 300 water main breaks in the first 6 months of the year. And the roads are collapsing in on the sewer mains and the water mains. You know, it's in disrepair. And we have a poverty rate of 38% and a child poverty rate of 55%, and the services are not being delivered to our people anymore. And then the state says we don't have the money. They have the money for tax breaks for the rich, but they won't tax the rich and fund the public services that the 99% of us use. That's the situation.
Okay, and I understand that Cuomo has even removed another sort of supplementary tax, the bank tax. But Howie, I think with this, you've already won the hearts of most of the people in this audience. Where can people find out about your campaign and also contribute to you in the last days here?
The best way would be to go to our website, which is www.howiehawkins.org.
Okay, and I'm sure you can still use that money for some media and get the word out, because it's you've obviously been discriminated against by the corporate media.
We have radio and TV ads up, but nowhere near what Governor Cuomo. He had 331 people gave him $22 million for his $45 million campaign war chest. I mean, that's not the 1%, that's the 1,000th of 1%.
Okay, and well, I think that's a tremendous public service that you're carrying out, and again, I want to commend you for being on this issue 4 years ago and continuing now, because that's an important public service.
Yeah, and people in New York listening, this is not just a protest vote. We're on the verge of double digits. We've been polling 9% in the last few polls. That's an historic high for a third-party progressive candidate in New York history for a statewide office. And we're likely to capture Row C, which is valuable political real estate in New York. So politics is a process. The election is just one event in that process. So let's see how many votes we can get, and then we'll parlay that into moving these issues forward after the election.
Absolutely. And I want to stress again my personal conviction that you are the best way to use a vote right now comes down to your campaign here at the end of the day. Any surprises, anything else notable about the New York situation that people around the world should know?
Well, New York has had a moratorium on hydraulic fracking for gas. Mm-hmm. And it's only because of a movement, because Cuomo's built all the infrastructure. He's allowed fracking waste to come into the state. And he says he's been waiting for the science to come in. But actually, he did get one scientific report. He didn't like the results, so he had his people try to edit it and delay it. So that blew up his whole argument about waiting for the science. We expect after the election he will give permission to frack, and then there'll be a lot of resistance. And we can stop it town by town, so we'll be doing that. We got won that case in court, so you can set up zoning so they can't frack in your town. That's going to be a huge issue in this state. It is a huge issue for the election. And, you know, I'm the only anti-fracking candidate on the ballot. So that's another issue.
It's a backward and toxic technology and bad thing for the United States. How about one other thing, the corruption? Cuomo had an anti-corruption commission, and he shut down his own commission?
That's right. And they called it independent until it started asking questions of his donors, and then he shut it down, and he said, it's my commission, I can shut it down. He got pushed back on that, so the next week he was saying, oh, it was independent all along. I mean, he's Nixonian in his dissembling and cover-ups. It's not just the Moreland Commission on Public Corruption. It was an earlier Moreland Commission on Public Utilities. And I mentioned the fracking study, and then we just had a debate last week, and Common Core aligned high-stakes tests are very unpopular in the state, and he's been pushing them. But in a debate, he said, who, me? I had nothing to do with it. It was the Board of Regents. But that's not true, because he signed off on stuff with the National Governors Association, and he's been pushing the teacher evaluations based on those high-stakes tests. So he'll say anything.
All this with the goal of busting the teachers union and privatizing all the schools, as far as I can see.
Well, he said it this week. He called it the last public monopoly, public schools. Well, I don't know. What's he going to do next? Have competing water companies? And he's rigging the competition he wants to set up between the privately managed charters and the public schools. You know, he's underfunding the public schools. We're at a 65-year low as a proportion of the state budget that is state aid to local schools. And he's pushed the charter schools big time. They get free rent in co-located public schools, or if they go out in the private market, the city of New York is supposed to pay their rent, well, the school budget in New York. So he's draining the public budget to support these private charters. And, you know, that's not even a level playing field if you talk about competition.
There is a Republican on the ballot, right? Astorino. What's the lowdown on him?